Hello everyone, welcome to Laurie's Little Studio. I'm Laurie, and today I'm looking at this jumper and this fabric. Candace brought me these patterns. There's several of them around the room somewhere, and I really like this jumper. It is kind of the style that I wore when I was teaching and when I worked in an office, and it's kind of nostalgic for me. But the other thing is, it's not that hard to make, and it is available to make in 2 lengths. We have the shorter version, view B, and the longer version, view A. I'm going to make Candace the shorter version. The fabric is such a cute style. She loves it, I love it. It has the teal, it has the pink, it has the orange, there's some yellow, and the little style of bird is so cute. It just speaks to me. I think it will be adorable for her to wear when she's teaching. She teaches voice, so this will be adorable. I'm going to try to get it done quickly. I think many of you know I started on this project and I haven't even made any progress. But I have received the quilter's batting. I think this will be good for working into my placemats. I need to cut out the pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the facing, 6 is the facing, and 7 is the armhole facing. So we go from piece 1 to piece 7 for view A. And my fabric is 45 inches wide. So I will be using this view right here as the shorter jumper. In America, that's what we call that type of dress. It goes over like a turtleneck or a blouse or something like that. Thread for a 14-inch zipper. Okay. I don't know if I have a 14-inch black zipper, but I will look for one. And if I do not have one, I will purchase it as quickly as I possibly can. When you have a piece like this that you'll be using as the main piece, your fabric piece, and a interfacing piece, you'll have different directions printed. And I like to write what those directions are on a blank space on the pattern, because I can keep up with it, but I'm likely going to lose it. So I'm going to jot these notes here and these notes here on the pattern the best way that I can. And I'm going to do it in red ink because I'm going to see it. It'll stand out. I am going to keep these in the pattern envelope, but I won't be reliant on them because I've written down cut 1 on fold of fabric, cut 1 on fold of interfacing. Piece 7 is buried in this massive pile of pattern. I like to clip the pattern pieces, and I'm going to be using on the outside of the pattern envelope. If you are new to stitching and you've not ever seen a pattern before, occasionally you will have this printed on pattern paper, and you can just cut it out. It is printed in several languages. I like to keep nice big pieces of the pattern paper like this in case I need to repair one of the pieces. And I will fold it up and put it in the envelope with the word extra. And this is heat erase ink, so I can erase it if I actually have to use this. But if you need this, it has a glossary of terms that you may find in here. It doesn't define them, it just has them printed here. I've never, at a time, I cannot remember ever using any of this. I don't know why they put it here, but it is a good piece of pattern paper. And of course, it wouldn't be in all patterns. This is a multi-size pattern. It tells you how to choose your size. You may not have a one size body, so this kind of will guide you on how to select the best of these pattern pieces to use. You might have a smaller lower portion and a smaller upper portion than what is offered as the size for these pieces. So for me, this is extra pattern paper. I might have a messed up McCall's pattern, and I'm going to look for some pattern paper that I've got stuffed in envelopes around here, and I need to know which ones have it and which ones don't have it. So I write it on here, and then if I use it, it's all gone. Then I'll just scratch this out and won't keep looking in the same envelope. I just had a thought. This dress, or this jumper, does not have a pocket, but the pattern has a pocket piece. So I think I'm going to cut this out, and if I have enough fabric, I'll make a self-lined pocket. If I don't, I'll just use some black fabric and make pockets for this jumper. If you've decided that you want to do this pattern, the Simplicity 2539 jumper, view A, view B, you'll need to know that it does require a zipper. I'm using an 18-inch that I'm going to trim down to 14 inches. And I didn't remember if I had a zipper foot for my machine or not. The Singer Heavy Duty HD 6800C is a low shank sewing machine, as opposed to my Bernina, which is a high shank sewing machine. And I'll show you the difference right here. The Bernina feet are like this. They have a very long shank that attaches to the machine right here. I don't have my Bernina in the room with me. I'm trying to get it ready to take it to be serviced. It's over 30 years old, so it needs some TLC. But this is the zipper foot for the Bernina that I purchased. I'm sure there are a variety of zipper feet that you can purchase. This foot has a opening on this side right here and on the other side right there, so that you can change the needle position. That's pretty much what a zipper foot does. And it's also a very long shank. They call it a high shank foot. And that hole in the top right there is where the Bernina connects to this foot, and all these other feet as well. The machine I'm using is a low shank. Just an FYI, Bernina feet are very expensive. I think most of mine were between $30 and $80, and that was 30 years ago. This is a low shank foot, and it connects by snapping onto this bar right here. There's a bar, I don't know if it's focusing. I think you can see it right here. And this one is a coil zipper foot, and the shank that it attaches to is right there, that little bar. that the coils slide through. There, I think you can tell that that's like a little valley on the bottom of the foot. And this one, you just change position so the needle can ride down in that little opening on either side of the foot. Because I'm using an invisible zipper, it has coils on either side. They're really hard to see on a black zipper. These coils right here, right along the edge, so you'll just be stitching along like this. The coil is on the back side, and this is the front side, which is completely smooth. That's where I will shorten it, right there. I'm not going to do that right now. I'll wait till we come to that part of the sewing. On the pocket piece, I am going to write cut 2, and then in parentheses I will put for 1 pocket, which will help me remember when I'm cutting the pattern pieces out that I have a side seam zipper. Okay, and now because Candace is not here, and I don't know if she will come here in the next few weeks, I'm going to use the waistline measurement on the pattern for where the pocket will go. You measure your waist. If you decide you want to add a pocket to a garment that doesn't have a pocket, find your waist measurement and then measure down 1 to 2 inches for the pocket placement. So that's how you do that. And as one last thing, I usually use an air erase pen to circle the layout that I'm using. I find it just helps me stay organized. I don't know if this is going to show up or not, but it's the next day and this is all I've gotten done. I don't know what it is. I've had so many things come up. So I'm still pinning the pattern to the fabric. I've only gotten 2 pieces put on the fabric, and I'm just going to keep on powering through. It's almost 2:30, and you know what that means. Telephone call to my sister. So when I'm sewing and filming a video and it gets up to 2:30, I'm basically done for the day. However, today may be different. I might have some time this afternoon to just power through. But I did want to show you a trick, I think it is. I don't know. It might not be. It might be something everybody knows. But I'm going to point it out, and it's very helpful. Okay, so this is the selvage right here. That's where they cast on the fabric on the loom, and the other side is also a selvage. Because it gets tighter and tighter and tighter, it pulls in a little bit, and I find it helpful to clip into the selvage, oh, I don't know, every 2 inches, every inch. But you see how this is curling up? I haven't clipped this part of the selvage right here. So it's curling and puffing, and it's kind of bunchy. It's hard to tell on this fabric. But if I just take my scissors, it's a weird way to hold your scissors, but I don't want to cut the other side. I'm just going to cut it. Kind of allows it to flatten out, lay down, not bunch up, not curl up. But you see the space where I cut? There's little spaces, and that's where the fabric has just kind of pulled apart, because now it's able to expand. So if you run into that problem, I recommend just snipping Don't cut the other side. You might not want that side cut, but it will help the edge of your fabric lay flat and not be all bubbly and bunchy. So that is a little tip. And don't cut all the way through to the fabric. As you can see, I've just cut within the white of the selvage. That's really all you need to do. If it's dark in here today, since I'm not really filming, I'm just kind of doing a couple tips, it's because I haven't turned on all my recording lights. I've just got a couple of them on. So I'll try to adjust the way it looks when I do the edit. But the second thing I wanted to tell you, and then I'm going to get busy, is if you have little pieces like these right here, I haven't got them laid out yet, I find it very helpful. It took me a while to figure this out. I don't know why. But these pieces tend to fly when I am moving my pattern around and moving my fabric around to get the pieces laid out on the fabric. But if I just clip these little ones with this clip, they won't fly. They can't go anywhere. So that's another idea. If you don't have a fabric clip per se, you can use something like this. You know, just something you'd use at your desk if you happen to have these clips right here. They also work well on fabric, or a paper clip even. Just something to add a little weight to keep them from, like, usually the breeze will cause them to just float off the table and onto the floor. That's my second little sort of kind of sewing tip of the day. Okay, one last thing before I go call my sister. With the pattern pieces I've got laid out, all of them are laid out now. I wanted to remind you to look at what direction they want the pattern pieces laid based on the view. I'm using jumper B, view 2A, which is this one right here, and it's hard to see it, but piece 5, which is a facing and interfacing piece, is upside down or face down on my fabric right here. It's supposed to be on the fold, and it is supposed to be face down. All the rest of these pieces are face up. The pocket piece is not part of the jumper. If it doesn't work for some strange reason, I can't get this pocket to go on the inside, and it could be the shape. I don't know. I have plenty of fabric to play with other pieces that I could make into a pocket. The other thing I wanted to tell you is always look at your grain line drawings. We'll go over that when we're stitching. Okay, I'm back. It's the second day, and I can't find my red friction ink pen. So I'm going to, when I'm editing this video, I'm going to see if I can figure out where I put it yesterday. What we are supposed to do, number 1, is stay stitch the front and back neck edges and the side front and side back from the cut edge. Piece number 1, front, and this is back. Okay, so what they mean is we'll open this out and we'll have sort of a square neck edge. So we're going to stay stitch right along the neck edge, and then we're going to come down and stay stitch just past the notch right here. So to about right here on both sides. And we'll do the same stay stitching on this piece, which this is a single piece of fabric, but we'll do it on both of these two pieces. So we'll stay stitch here on both, and then right along under here, and then quite a ways beyond that notch. So as you can see, this is the stay stitching. right here. Now before we continue, I need to find either my black thread or gray thread and rethread my sewing machine. I have two smaller spools of thread. This is Gutermann that is 100% polyester, and it is color number 10, and it was made in Germany. This is Gutermann. It is 100% cotton thread, and it was made in Greece, and its color is 1001. I think what I'm going to do is start stitching with the polyester thread. Make sure that you transfer any of the markings that you're going to want onto your fabric before you remove the pattern piece. And this is the front of the jumper. So I'm going to press this seam out. That was on the fold. I don't know if you can see it, but it's quite prominent in real life. It's right there. Okay, first thing we're going to do before we stay stitch is see what the seam allowance on the jumper is, and it says 5/8 of an inch. Because stay stitching is sewn 1/8 away from your regular seam, we're going to stitch it 1/2 of an inch from the raw edge of the fabric. You want to do your top stitching as soon as you cut your piece of fabric out, just to preserve the proper shape. And you can just use your regular stitch length. Mine on this machine defaults to 2.5. We had a curve, well, we have a curve up here, and the sides have kind of a deep curve. So that's what we're trying to stabilize, is this deep curve. Pin the front to the side front, and 2 is the side front, piece 2. So we're going to unpin the pattern from piece 2 and pin it right along the sides of piece 1. The side is where we're going to be installing the zipper, on one of the sides, and it will be between this notch right here, 14 inches down to this notch right here. If you need to mark it more than just having some notches, by all means you can do that. Some people take a completely opposing, like for this particular fabric I would use white thread, and they'll just do huge stitches along one side, the side that the zipper's going on, to remind them. The other thing I need to remind you of is this curve right here. You might be asking, why didn't we stay stitch that? Well, this is an outward curve, and it typically doesn't need to be stay stitched. The other thing that I want to point out is this can be tricky to install on a garment, so we'll go through that together. So here's the front. And we have our first notch match up right here. Our notches matched. Okay, and with it pinned, you can see there's a little shape. Maybe you can't see it. We'll turn it over. there's shape here. And we will be clipping this right here to have it lay down a little bit more flat. It won't be completely flat, but it'll be flatter. All right, so then we will stitch. Okay, next we're going to stitch the center back seam. So I'm just pinning it to keep it straight. So this is the back neck right here. I believe next we are to attach front to back at the shoulder seams and then at the side seams. I thought I would go over these curves. Let me unpin this so I can show you. What we're doing is we have a concave curve on the back side right here. So it kind of caves in just a little bit right there. There is a notch right here. This piece does the opposite. It's bowing out just a little bit right here, and there's a notch right there. So with right sides together, we're going to take this piece and match it with this piece at that notch right there. And then just gently work the fabric up to the top under the arm right here and pin. And then work your way down past that notch. And you do want to clip this little curve right here. So this is where we are. We have the front and the two sides and the back and the two sides. The back was pieced. There's a right and left side, and here's the seam right here. The shoulder seams have been stitched, and now we are going to stitch the left side all the way from underarm to the hem, and the right side we should have, and this is looking at it from the back, there is a notch right here, and notches right here. I don't know if you can see that. And we're going to leave this open, and that's for the zipper. So I went ahead and pinned it, so I would say, oh, I have to stop here, and oh, I got to start right here. This should be a 14-inch gap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And of course, the reason I said 14-inch gap is because we're going to be installing a 14-inch zipper. Okay, this is the zipper side. So we will stitch just a little bit to this pin right here. As far as I've stitched. I'm going to leave all this open to this pin right here. This jumper dress, whichever you want to call it, is stitched all the way on both sides and at the shoulders. I'm trimming threads right now. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is work on the facings. And these facings need to have interfacing attached. I'm going to use fusible interfacing and get those ready before I continue. Just realized I did not leave an opening for a pocket, so I'll have to go back and open that area on the non-zipper side for the pocket. My new red pen arrived. I'm so happy. You won't believe this, but I've been trying for at least 5 minutes to get this red pen to write, and I cannot get any ink to flow. I can't wait to edit this video to see if I can see where the other red pen went, because it's just been driving me crazy. The last thing I said was I was going to attach the interfacing to these pieces. I haven't done that yet, obviously, so that will happen next. So I made sure the glue dots were facing the underside, so I can just go press this onto the fabric and it'll be ready to go. I want to make sure the glue dots are facing the wrong side of the fabric, so they are here. Glue dots facing the wrong side. The next step is to edge finish the facings. I'm going to do a very close zigzag stitch to edge finish mine. That is stitch number 5 on this machine. The default settings are width is 5.0, length is 2.0, and I'm going to leave the length alone, and I'm going to push back the width to 4.0. Turn this to right sides out. And you can either do this wrong side out and this right side out, but I find it so much easier to just go ahead and turn this dress right side out. And then with right sides together, apply your facings. I'm going to line up the shoulder seams. And just pin them in place. And they should fit perfectly. If they don't, my recommendation is to not mess with the dress, but adjust the facings at these shoulder seams. Okay, and then you're just going to stitch all the way around. Okay, now the front of this jumper right here, let's see if you can see that it's squared off. So when you're coming around sewing the facings on, you're going to stitch straight and you'll stop here and you'll pivot and straight across, stop there, pivot, and then go on up. And then when you're finished stitching it, here we go, you will need to clip in to this little squared area here, just up to the stitching, like this. And the same thing on the other side, like that, so that it will turn pretty to the inside. This is that corner in the front. And this is the other corner, so it's nice and squared off. I know it's so hard to see in this black fabric, but I do recommend you pin it at the shoulder seams just to kind of help you, hold it into place as you're pressing. I think I shall be back after I've pressed it down. Alright, so now that we've got the front edge all the way around the neck edge pressed and pinned, we're going to understitch. And I will show you, if you've never done it before, there's really just one rule that you must follow. You want to make sure that you're stitching on the facing side, and you want to make sure that you are stitching the seam onto the facing, so that when you turn it back to the inside, you don't have any stitches on the outside of your garment. And really, understitching is to help the facing stay to the inside, not flop out to the outside. And there's another trick I'll show you in just a moment, but sometimes you can't understitch the entire, I think I can on this one, but sometimes garments or other items can't be understitched all the way. There'll be a section that you can't get to with the sewing machine, and that's fine. You don't have to do the entire facing. Okay, now the facing should stay flipped to the inside. If it doesn't, or if you just want to make sure that it is really secure, you can stitch in the ditch on the shoulder seams. Make sure your facing is on the inside. Okay, I'm going to make a small little tag for the back. And the weight of this tag will keep the back facing, will help keep it down. It doesn't show up very much, but it's there, and that weight will help keep this back facing on the inside. The next step is the sleeve facings, which is piece number 7. This requires pressing. With right sides together, stitch the ends of the armhole facing. So we'll turn them like so. Alright, then we open up this seam that we just made, and then we press this in half, like this. Here's the armhole facing. I recommend that once you get this seam stitched and pressed open, that you fold it at the seam and on the ironing board press just right here, because you don't want to keep going. Obviously you'll crease it over here, so just press it right here, and then do the same thing on the opposite side and just press it right here, and then put your iron, the tip of your iron right here, and slide and press and slide and press and slide and press until you come back around to where you started. And that way you can press it evenly without creasing it along the edges. Okay, next we're going to find the notches right here, and clearly we need to make sure that the notches are lined up with the notch on the dress armhole, which is right here. However, we want to make sure that this seam, which is right here, is at the side seam. So flip it, turn it, however you need to do to make sure that you're lining up the notch and pinning it, and that seam on the armhole facing will line up with the seam on the dress. Very first thing that you want to do is turn the dress so that it's inside out. Here's that armhole edge, and here's the opening. Now the pattern language might be confusing, but it's not really if you think about it. It says press under 5/8 of an inch on the left front opening edge and 1/2 of an inch on the left back opening edge. So, I have the hiccups again. This is the back. I can easily tell because I put this little tag here. This is the back. It gets 1/2 of an inch folded and pressed down. The front, which would be the other side, is going to get 5/8 of an inch. Okay. Now this zipper is an invisible zipper, and for that I have invisible zipper feet. Okay, so this zipper will curl out, and I will press it open on both sides. Okay, I'm back. I've pressed it. I just took the tip of my iron and pushed it right along the zipper, and that kind of made it stand up and it pushed it away from the tape. And I'm sure you can't see it, but okay, I'm going to go press the zipper opening, and I'll be right back. Okay, and this is why I like glass head pins, because I was able to just press right on top of the pins and they won't melt. The first thing I'm going to do is leave the everyday foot on my machine, and I'm going to shorten my zipper. If you're working with black and you have a purple air erase, that is visible in person on the zipper. And I'm going to do that more than once. There it is. You can use double-sided tape to place your zipper instead of pins to hold it in place. Alright. You want to make sure that this zipper is riding in the groove of the foot. I feel like a regular zipper would do better here. This invisible zipper, the installation is so different. Okay, there we go. Except these are the pins. There's the zipper. It is fairly invisible. And I need to think about how I'm going to do this pocket. I only need one. I just don't know that I want to put it on the outside. This pocket that came with the pattern is meant as an outside pocket. If I took this side seam out and stitched the pocket in there, and took this seam out and stitched the pocket in there, I'd have to finish the pocket. But I don't know, I haven't decided what I want to do with that yet. Okay, I'm going to go hang this back up so it can keep straightening out the hem. So I have this half of the zipper pinned from top to bottom. The very top part I tacked, and I will do the same thing down here at the bottom. And I will do it by hand because I don't want to risk breaking a needle on my sewing machine. Okay, so that is it. The zipper mostly installed. So I'll have to fix this little spot right here where it's catching. And then down here at the base where the bottom of the zipper is, I need to hand stitch this portion of the zipper. Okay, so we've got both arm size done. They're lined. The front and back are lined, and we need to finish the zipper. Parts of it I've had to stitch by hand, which it hasn't been bad at all. I could actually have just sewn the whole zipper in by hand. It's going on very easily. And I'm basically using double-stranded thread for the zipper. And I'm going to stitch, I think it's like the last inch and a half of this zipper in by hand. Okay, let's see how it looks. There it is. It is installed. I know it's really hard to see because the zipper is black and the fabric is mostly black, but that's it right there. And it has been completely installed. And all we have left to do is hem the dress. Alright, it has been pressed and is ready to be hemmed. there it is. It's quite a cute little jumper. I'll pop some pictures up so you can see it hanging up. And I'll let you know what Candace thinks. Thank you so much for watching this crazy video. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.